Your mind never stops. Not once. Not even now. You are reading this and your brain is running 3 other thoughts behind it. One from yesterday, one that might happen, one you cannot name, and none of them are quiet. I want to talk about what that actually is, because what you call overthinking is not what overthinking is. Meet Daniel. He is 34. He writes code. He has a 7-year-old son who lives with his ex-wife. He gets him on weekends and Thursday nights. He is already running every version of Saturday. He checks the weather 4 times before bed. He maps out the morning down to the minute. He cleans his apartment twice on Friday, not because it is dirty, but because his son might notice that his father does not have it together, and that thought alone is enough to keep him up. You would not know Daniel overthinks. He shows up on time. He delivers clean work. He nods in meetings. He looks calm. He looks steady. He looks like someone who has it figured out. But here is what is actually happening. He sends one email, then rereads it 4 times, checking if his tone was wrong, checking if he revealed too much, checking if he sounded stupid. He walks into a room and before anyone speaks, he has already mapped what each person thinks of him, what each person expects, what each person is hiding. His ex-wife mentions a schedule change, and for 40 minutes after he replays the conversation, searching for the moment she implied something about the kind of father he is. That is not conscientiousness. That is a nervous system that was never told the world is safe enough to stop scanning. Stay with me here now. Here is the part nobody tells you. You have been reading this wrong your entire life. Overthinking is not a thinking problem. It is a safety problem wearing a thinking disguise. Your brain did not choose to think this much because something is wrong with you. It chose to think this much because something was wrong around you, and the only way to survive it was to never miss a signal again. Susan Nolan Hoeksema spent 30 years studying exactly this. She found that people who ruminate do not think more. They think in circles. They think in loops. They think in prisons built from the same thought, repeated until it feels like truth. And she found something else, something that will reframe everything you believe about yourself. The people who ruminate most are not the weakest people. They are the most perceptive. They are the ones who noticed every shift in a parent's mood, every change in a room's atmosphere, every silence that carried weight before anyone else did. Here is where it gets deeper. This pattern did not begin with you. Your father stood in doorways. He never entered rooms. He watched from the frame like the room might change if he stepped inside. He rehearsed what to say before he said it. He carried conversations. He never finished. You learned that from him. You just never named it. And right now, in apartments and shared rooms, children are watching their fathers, watching them rehearse conversations that have not happened yet, watching them carry weight no one sees, learning that this is what love costs. You are not the first person in your line to think this way. You are not the loudest. You are just the one who finally noticed that thinking this much is costing you something. And here is the mirror moment, the trait you are most proud of, the one you list in interviews. The one you call insight, the one you call awareness, the one you call being switched on. That trait is also the one quietly draining you every single day. Your ability to read people is not a gift. It is a wound that learned to dress itself as competence. You did not become perceptive because the world was interesting. You became perceptive because the world was unpredictable and someone in it needed you to predict it. And here is what makes it worse. You are the person everyone comes to. You are the one who reads the room, who sees the thing nobody says, who knows what is wrong before anyone admits it. You became the person people lean on because you learned early that being useful was the only way to be safe in a room. Now let me show you what this looks like in the brain. Randy Buckner and Jessica Andrews-Hanna at Harvard mapped something they called the default mode network. It is the part of your brain that activates when you are not doing anything, when you are not solving a problem, when you are not watching a screen, when you are just sitting, and your mind starts running. For most people, the default mode network flickers on and off like a porch light. Thoughts drift in, then drift out. But for you, for people who think too much, the default mode network does not flicker. It stays on. It stays bright, it stays locked on the same thought, the same question, the same replay, the same what if, until your body carries it as exhaustion, as tension in your jaw, as a chest that feels heavy, even when nothing happened. Martin Seligman called this learned helplessness. But he was only half right. You did not learn helplessness. You learned pre-suffering. You learned to feel the pain of what has not happened yet, so that when it arrives, you will not be caught off guard. But the cost of pre-suffering is that you are always suffering. You are always in the pain of a future that has not arrived and may never arrive. That thought right there is the one that has been waiting longest. That is the one worth sitting with. Now here is the wall. You built a wall inside yourself. You did not build it to keep people out. You built it to keep yourself in. The wall is not made of analysis. It is made of every Saturday morning you could not feel the light because you were busy protecting the day. It is made of every conversation you rehearsed in the car before walking inside. It is made of every moment you translated what someone meant instead of hearing what they said. It is made of your son laughing at something stupid while you stood there mapping the next hour. Missing the laugh because the wall only knows how to guard. It does not know how to let you live. The wall kept you alive when the environment was unsafe. The wall made you sharp when sharpness was required. The wall gave you a mind that could see danger before it arrived. But the wall is also the reason you cannot rest now. The wall does not know that the war ended. The wall does not know that you are no longer in the room where you learned to scan every face, every silence, every shift. The wall thinks you still need it, and you do in some rooms, in some moments, in some relationships, you still need it. But you do not need it everywhere. You do not need it with every person. You do not need it in every silence. Now here is the research payoff. Nolan Hoeksema tracked this pattern for decades. She followed people who ruminated, and she found something that should quiet the voice that says you are broken. The overthinkers who were told they were just anxious got worse. They spiraled deeper because the label made them feel like their mind was defective, like the pattern was pathology, like they needed to fix something that was never broken. But the overthinkers who were told the truth, that their brain had adapted, that the pattern had a purpose, that thinking this much was survival, not sickness. Those overthinkers started getting better. Not because they stopped thinking, but because they stopped thinking their thinking was wrong. You are not broken. You are wired differently, and the science proves it. Let me show you one more thing. You do not need to stop thinking. You need to stop thinking that thinking this much is something you should stop. The wall you built is not your enemy. It is an old guard standing at a gate that no longer needs guarding. You do not demolish the wall. You walk up to it. You stand beside it. You thank it, and then you open the gate and walk through. Thinking does not stop, but the prison does. The loops do not vanish, but they slow down when you stop calling them something they are not. You are not an overthinker. You are a person who thinks more than the world taught you was allowed. And the world was wrong about what is allowed. Now I want to ask you something. What is one moment you actually stopped planning and just lived inside it, even for a second? Put it in the comments. Not because anyone needs to read it, but because your brain needs to remember that it has happened before and can happen again. Being seen is the first step to coming home.